I'm the Deaf Rider, captain of the starship Pentameter. A year ago, I was kidnapped and transported 1 billion light years into space. For reasons unknown, deep thought and alien intelligence that survives in deep space presented me with a starship and told me to seek my destiny, whatever that might mean. It turns out my kidnapping occurred just as a monumental disaster struck my homeworld, and I'm now the last human being alive, seeking to preserve human culture by broadcasting poetry into the galaxy once a week. We're approaching Cleos 7, the third and final destination in our reconnaissance mission. Both previous Krell outposts were wiped out before we could arrive, and, at the first, we encountered alien technology that warned us of the arrival of a 30,000-year-old threat to the galaxy. Additional, the inhabitants of the Dog Star have placed a petition before the Galactic Council objecting to their portrayal in popular media. They feel they are portrayed as far too serious.
It's X-37 here, the synthetic first mate of the Pentameter. Our journey through space has taken us to many unusual places where we have seen many unusual life forms. We recently encountered a depressed xenopaleontologist. He was feeling very frustrated because his proposed name for a recently discovered skeleton on Gleason 3 was rejected by the notoriously conservative Imperial Society for the Discovery and Naming of Extinct Species. After 3 hours of deliberation, the committee rejected the name, announcing, "We believe that, however appropriate Dr. Isidore feels the name is for a gigantic predator, it is too flippant to name a fossil the Do You Think He Saw Us?" My captain is the last human being alive in the galaxy, following the destruction of his home planet with the incredibly boring name of Earth. We have been drifting through space on the starship Pentameter, reciting poems and trying to survive the rigors of space travel. Right now, we are making our way to the final destination in our reconnaissance mission, investigating why 3 Krell outposts have fallen out of contact with the Krell home world. This is the communications suite aboard the Pentameter that doubles as my laboratory. To pass the time, I employ my planet-sized intellect solving the galaxy's most pressing scientific dilemmas.
You're supposed to be setting up the broadcast space, X-37, not conducting any of your weird experiments. I'm sick of having to repair damaged equipment.
No, everything is fine. You banned me from doing any more experiments, remember?
You're lying again, aren't you?
Sucker. I have been attempting to give intelligence to protons. Unfortunately, the smarter they get, the more negative they become. Uh-oh, something's wrong. I think I'd better duck.
What in deep space happened here? X-37? I thought you said you weren't conducting any more experiments.
I can't hear you. Some communication glitch.
Bring up the interface. 3, 2, 1, and hello and welcome to the show. We are currently broadcasting our show while travelling with some urgency towards Kleos 7, the third Krell colony to fall silent in recent times. We have urgent information to pass on to the Krell Emperor, but have not been able to get a signal through. I'm the Deaf Writer, and no matter what your species, number of heads, or planet of origin, you are all welcome here. In other news, the authorities have arrested a being on Willems 5 for being grossly unsanitary. When challenged, the visiting Nordelian, an astronomer who came to the Willems 5 to observe the impending passage of the planet through the solar system's asteroid belt, stated that his personal hygiene was above reproach. I bathe regularly and have a wash once every 75 years, whether I need one or not. That said, the only shower I'm interested in is the impending meteor shower. Hello and welcome. Good to see so many friends here in the chat today. Welcome in Fizzban DM. Welcome in Frog111222. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see my marvelous mods here, Tim Tam and Robotham J. Thank you all for coming in for this, our season finale, before taking a brief 2-week hiatus in order to get some things done. Before we get too far, there are some rules on this site, so let me introduce you to the rules of our stream, intended just to make things run smoothly and to prevent people from being feeling as if they are being mistreated, etc. So here are our rules. Be kind. Be respectful. Keep the language clean. We welcome kids and families to our streams. Don't ask for or give away personal information for your own protection. Don't spam the commands, but feel free to use them. Don't spam or promote yourself to other viewers unless you've talked to me about it first. Be curious and willing to join in. And lastly, this one is optional, but take on a role within our universe. Tell us about yourself and your species and what planet you're from. Become part of our universe. I will draw you a representation of your species to appear when you visit us and say hello. So it would be great to hear from you in that regard. With respect to all of these, except the last rule, which is optional, should the rules be violated, you will unfortunately be banned. We also have a number of commands. Hello, Frog111222. I can see the wave there. Lovely to see you. We also have some commands that are available in the chat for anybody who feels like participating in the chat using these commands. Our commands, generally our specialist commands, the ones that have been created just for this stream, begin with an exclamation point W. An exclamation point W will list W commands will list all the commands that are available at any point if you type it into the chat. Command SL shows our poetry request list, and you can follow that link and use your Twitch login to get in there and request poems for us to read. Should you wish to show your appreciation for what we're doing, the Command W applause is always is always welcome, as is Command W on fire, Command W party, Command W wow, Command W cool, and Command W amazing. If you're enjoying yourself in the chat and want to hug or interact with some of the other users in chat, you can use the !hug username command, or the throw username command, or the attack username command, or the sling username command. But we also have the bomb command available to you as well, and those are the commands that we have available in chat for your enjoyment and entertainment. Quick tour around our screen. The request status is now on. Thank you, Tim Tam, for turning that on. And listing the commands on screen for us. You can see our chat over here on the left. Over on the right is our punometer, where should any of our visitors type us a great pun in the chat, we will immediately try to award them a star. And the aim each week, as you would know if you've been here regularly, is to get 5 stars up on the chat. Today we also have a new guest with us. You can see sitting here on the desk with me is Dougal the robot dog, built by X37, and he joins us today. So if you happen to hear some barking in the background, that will be Dougal the robot dog carrying on. Our poet of the week. This week we are featuring the poet Emily Dickinson. This is our poet of the week, and we will be looking at 3 of the poems of the marvellous Emily Dickinson. Fizban, X37 did something right. X37 is actually a very good first mate, even if he can't tell good jokes. Let's see, what else? Our poetry list. I should show you our poetry list. So when you follow the link to our poetry list, you can see a page like this will show up once you click on the login with Twitch link, and you can see on the right hand side request. We now have 233 different poems in that list to request, so there are quite a few available to you if you should so choose, and I look forward to the requests that come in each week. Back to our studio, and you can also see the poem list itself up here, where you can see which poems are coming up when. We always begin with 5 poems in the list to start out with, but they are there just in case things get very quiet here. If you happen to be lurking in the background, please join us and say hello in the chat. Give us a follow too. Always appreciated follows. Let's see. We should probably get started then, now that all the housekeeping's out of the way. So let's begin with our first poem of the day. Our first poem is our officially unofficial theme poem, The Invitation to Dinner. And we'll just make our way through to the index page. Poetry by request, recitals by the deaf writer, that's me. And I need to... The list is a lot longer now than it was, so it can take me a little while to find some of these poems. but we will get there. The Invitation to Dinner. Written way back in the dim dark ages of 1999 by yours truly, the deaf writer. It occurred to me that poetry and food is something that should be enjoyed and savoured with some wine, and so I ask you out to dine, with friends of course, and I, your host, will beg your company the most, for were you to absent yourself, there's not enough of worldly wealth to compensate me for the grief of losing your good company. And that was The Invitation to Dinner, our unofficially official, or officially unofficial, if you like, opening poetry theme. Let's see. We will begin, of course, with our featured poet. So we'll start with a poem by our featured poet, and then we will do one of the poems in our list, which looks like it's going to be Psalm 13. Requested, I suspect, by FizzBandDM. So thank you for the request, FizzBandDM. Our first poem for the day is Because I Could Not... Oh no, it's I Felt a Funeral in My Brain. So let's jump across. I Felt a Funeral in My Brain by our featured poet today. And we have here a couple of bits of original art. We can see men tramping across the room at the funeral in their big boots. And we can also see Emily Dickinson herself being depicted here. Here we go. I felt a funeral in my brain, and mourners to and fro kept treading till it seemed that sense was breaking through. And when they all were seated, a service like a drum kept beating, till I thought my mind was going numb. And then I heard them lift a box and creak across my soul, with those same boots of lead again. Then space began to toll, as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear, and I and silence, some strange race, wrecked solitary there. And then a plank in reason broke, and I dropped down, and hit a world at every plunge, and finished knowing. Then, and that was I Felt a Funeral in My Brain, our first poem by our featured poet, Emily Dickinson. Let's have a look here. The picture looks like an anime funeral with all the hair colours. Fair enough. It's a picture of a typical day of Attack on Titan or Jujutsu Kaisen. Oh dear. Fair enough. Thank you for those comments. Let's get back to our central room, and our next choice is going to be Psalm 13 for FizzBandDM. But before we go there, X37 wants to bring us some interesting facts about Emily Dickinson, our featured poet.
So let's take a look at this. Samuel Dickinson Emily Dickinson's grandfather had the family home built in the 19th century. It was a large mansion in the centre of Amherst that became the Dickinson family home for over a century before it was sold. In 1965, Amherst College bought the homestead. In 2003, it formally became the Emily Dickinson Museum, along with the home next door that belonged to Emily's niece. Emily Dickinson was born into a privileged life in Amherst, Massachusetts. Edward Dickinson was a well-regarded lawyer from the Whig Party. After graduating from Yale and then the Northampton Law School, he served as the treasurer of Amherst College. He served 4 consecutive terms on both the Massachusetts House of Representatives, the Massachusetts Senate, and the United States Congress. Emily Dickinson kept the majority of her work to herself. Only after her death, her sister discover collections of poetry that Dickinson had compiled and refined during her lifetime. She shared her poetry during her life in written correspondence with friends and occasionally asked for guidance from literary advisors such as Thomas Wentworth Higginson. Poems that were published during her lifetime were mainly done so anonymously or without her consent. And those were some
fun facts provided by the hair is all wigs. Thank you, Fizzban DM. Yes, quite possibly. So, yes, there we have some facts about Emily Dickinson, the reclusive writer of poetry, most of whom's poetry turned up after she had died, was released to the world after she had died. Last week, we added Jean de La Fontaine to our trading card collection. So I'd love to hear who you think might be worth adding to our collection this week. Let me show you where we're up to with our trading card collection. We have now got Walt Whitman, William Blake, and Jean de La Fontaine at positions 7, 8, and 9 in our collection. I would love to hear who else you think deserves a place in our collection of trading cards. When we've got enough, I'm going to release the trading cards as a PDF on our Discord server with a set of rules for using them in a tabletop card game. So keep your eye out for that. That's coming soon. But of course, we need more suggestions of poets to add to our lineup of famous poets in our trading card collection. Robotham J asks, do we have Lovecraft and Howard? No, we do not. If you would like me to add them to our trading card list, just say so with a yes please or something, Robotham J. Now let's go and find, when I make this go away again, yes, that would be great. Okay, so we have 2 more additions to our trading card collection coming up. Got a dentist appointment on Monday, so this seems appropriate. Okay, I'm not sure how that fits. Oh, Psalm 13. I understand now. Let me find Psalm 13. Psalm 13. Here we go. Psalm 13. Written about the 6th century BC and attributed to King David. of Israel. The psalm reads as follows. Psalm 13. For the director of music, the Psalm of David. How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? Look on me and answer, Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep in death. And my enemy will say, I have overcome him, and my foes will rejoice when I fall. But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me. And that was Psalm 13, requested by Fizban DM. So thank you very much for that request. And I have to say, I'm very sorry to hear that you have a dental appointment. That must be quite horrible. And I hope that, along with the psalmist, you can be full of praise after it's done. Was this free verse, or did it rhyme, have a syllable scheme in the original language? I'm not actually sure on that one. Certainly when it gets translated into English, it's treated as free verse. And I'm also pretty sure that it didn't rhyme in its original form. But as for whether there was a stanza structure to it, Fizban DM, do one of your heads able to enlighten us on this? I'd be really interested to know as well if there was a syllable scheme or structure in the original language. I'll just leave that with you to think about for a moment. While we consider what's coming up next. Oh yeah, don't forget our request list, folks. Rhyme wasn't a common thing, so Penny says, but it might have had an acrostic structure. We'll get back to you. Okay, great. Thank you. I'd be really interested to know, not having had that much exposure to Hebrew and the Psalms in my college days. Interesting. Yes, very interesting.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'd love to tell a joke.
Oh dear. Yes, go on. Let's hear your joke.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Police.
Police who?
Police, let me in. It's cold out here in space.
Oh dear, that was not good. You'd think with more practice, X37, you'd be getting better at this, but really, not so much. Anyway, what I think I'll do right now is our stream has a freebie attached to it for anybody who follows us. It was constructed by my son. It's a free little casual pickup game called Poetry Quest. And we have a little trailer for it, so I'm going to run that now. Poetry Quest, Flight from the Krell. A wonderful little game put together by Robotic J, my mod, and also my son, whom I'm very proud of. As you can see, you fly around avoiding obstacles. A great little game and a huge amount of fun. With lots of different levels built in, and you can pick that up by following the link that's going to appear on the screen. Thank you, Robotic J, for making the link show up. It's free to anybody who is a follower of the show. And we're very proud of that little game. We think it's great fun. I hope some of you have actually given it a try. We have to cop another joke from X37. Yes, that gives us our first star on the board. And oh, hello, Dory. Welcome in. Be Like Dory is visiting us from the planet Neptune. We also have, I think we got more than one pun, didn't we? X37, police shut up, that joke was lawful. That's actually 2. I think we're going to skip straight to 3 stars with that. What's this? My lordy, that was bad, Robotham J. That's got us 4 stars already. Gee, they're coming thick and fast. Hello, Dory. How are you doing? Lovely to see you this morning. Please jump in and request a poem. Join us in our poetry requests today. We're actually going to take a look now at a featured poem. This week's featured poet is Emily Dickinson, and we're going to take a look at what is our next poem? Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. One of the wonderful things about Emily Dickinson is that most of her poems are written in standard ballad form, and standard ballad form can be sung to many, many tunes. Doing good, happy to be lurking and listening. Oh, thank you. X37 is constantly spitting out terrible jokes. Oh, we did it before we even got that far into the show. 5 puns. Well done, folks. That particular poem, that particular joke, at least it was able to inspire some puns despite how terrible X37's joke was. Back to Emily Dickinson. Yes, often her poetry can be sung to the tune of fairly well-known songs such as The Yellow Rose of Texas, or Amazing Grace, or The House of the Rising Sun. Those songs are all written in standard ballad form. So here, without further ado, is Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. I can't quite remember whether this one is in standard ballad form or not, but we'll have a look. And no, I'm not going to sing. Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Written as a response to and homage to a poem similarly titled Hope by one of the Bronte sisters, of whom I can't remember which one it was who wrote the poem at this point. But it's a beautiful poem, very melancholy and somewhat downbeat. And Emily Dickinson wrote this one as something of a corrective to that. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. And that was Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. And yes, it was written in ballad form. So another poem that can be sung to any one of those tunes. Let's see what's happening in the chat. Psalm 13 isn't an acrostic, and while it doesn't rhyme per se, some of the words have some phonological correspondences, meaning there are groups of words that use the same three-letter root. Oh, fantastic. Thank you for bringing us that little bit of information. I find that really interesting to know. I should ask as well, acrostic form. I probably should know what that is. I know that it's not chiastic. What's acrostic form? And while we're doing that, I'll look up our next poem. Yes, I'll Marry You, My Dear by Pam Ayres. And I suspect that's being requested by... no, I can't see who it's being requested by right now, but I'm guessing it's being requested by Robotham J. And if I've got that wrong, please forgive me. It was not meant, just an oversight. Pam Ayres, where did I put you, Miss Ayres? Pam Ayres. Yes, I'll marry you, my dear. An acrostic is when each verse starts with the next letter in the alphabet. Don't miss I Wish I Looked After My Teeth. Oh, okay. I did miss that, so our first poem is going to be Oh, I Wish I Looked After Me Teeth by the marvellous Pam Ayres. Oh, I wish I'd looked after me teeth. Oh, let's bring it up on screen properly first, though. There we go. Oh, I wish I'd looked after me teeth and spotted the dangers beneath all the toffees I chewed and the sweet sticky food. Oh, I wish I'd looked after me teeth. Oh, I wish I'd been that much more willin' when I had more tooth there than fillin' to give up gobstoppers from respect to me choppers and to buy something else with me shillin'. When I think of the lollies I licked and the licorice all sorts I picked, sherbet dabs big and little, all that hard peanut brittle, my conscience gets horribly pricked. My mother, she told me no end, if you got a tooth, you got a friend. I was young then and careless, my toothbrush was hairless, I never had much time to spend. Oh, I showed them the toothpaste all right. I flashed it about late at night. But up and down brushin' and pokin' and fussin' didn't seem worth the time I could bite. If I'd known I was paving the way to cavities, caps and decay, the murder of fillins, injections and drillin's, I'd thrown all me sherbet away. So I lie in the old dentist's chair and I gaze up his nose in despair, and his drill it do whine in these molars of mine. To amalgam, he'll say, for in there. How I laughed at me mother's false teeth as they foamed in the waters beneath. But now comes the reckoning. It's me they are beckoning. Oh, I wish I'd looked after me teeth. And that was I Wish I'd Looked After Me Teeth by Pam Ayres. And that was our second poem. Thank you, Fizzban DM, for the on fire. Much appreciated. I do appreciate it when we get some feedback on on the poem readings. Let's see. X37 wants to bring us another explainer telling us about the life of Emily Dickinson. So let's do that.
Emily's family were staunch Calvinists. The essence of evangelical Calvinism is that humans are born as sinners and must be saved with conversion. The poet enjoyed playing with religious ideas in her poetry and seems to have been significantly influenced by the tenets of the faith. While at the Amherst Academy, Dickinson's teachers recognized her talent for composition, but were also impressed with her assemblage of a large herbarium. Dickinson excelled in Latin and created a meticulous collection of pressed plants that were identified by their accurate Latin names. From an early age, Emily Dickinson chose to restrict her social engagements. In her late 20s, she chose to stay within her family home for the vast majority of the time, instead of venturing out into the world around her. She rarely travelled and based her perceptions of her friends on their ability to write a letter back to her.
And there you go, some more interesting facts about the highly reclusive Emily Dickinson. She wasn't actually as reclusive as all that. In the end, she loved the company of children, and she often went out in the evenings, but she did gain this reputation for reclusiveness. There are some people who think it's fine to eat lots of candy. They're molar opposites. Oh, and I don't have any more I can put up. But you know what I think I'll do? I'll clear the board and place a new one on the board, and maybe we'll see if we can reach 10 today. 6 stars on the punometer is actually quite the record for us. I honestly don't think it shows much wisdom. They spend all their time with dentists gumming for them. Oh my goodness. We are well on our way to our second lot of puns. We're overcapping the meter. My goodness, we got to 4 already. 4 puns already. Well done. I think we'd better rush on to do another poem, actually. So let's see, what's our next poem on the list? Because, Yes, I'll Marry You, My Dear. Another of Pam Ayre's poems. Let's jump ahead. Pam Ayre's poems, Yes, I'll Marry You, My Dear. By Pam Ayres. Oh, I shouldn't have looked up just then. These teeth puns are just filling the meter. 10 puns in one day. Oh, an extraordinary Saturday morning we're having here today, with marvellous puns coming from all over the place. Yes, I'll Marry You, My Dear, by Pam Ayres. Yes, I'll marry you, my dear, and here's the reason why, so I can push you out of bed when the baby starts to cry. And if we hear a knocking and it's creepy and it's late, I hand you the torch, you see, and you investigate. Yes, I'll marry you, my dear, you may not apprehend it, but when the tumble dryer goes, it's you that has to mend it. You have to face the neighbour should our Labrador attack him. And if a drunkard fondles me, it's you that has to whack him. Yes, I'll marry you, you're virile and you're lean. My house is like a pigsty, you can help to keep it clean. That sexy little dinner which you served by candlelight, as I do chipolatas, you can cook it every night. It's you who has to work the drill and put up curtain rack, and when I've got PMT, it's you who gets the flack. I do see great advantages, but none of them for you. And so, before you see the light, I do. And that's Yes, I'll Marry You, My Dear by Pam Ayres. What's happening over here in the chat? Tim Tam says it's a ×2 combo being achieved over in the chat. FizzBandDM, amazing. Thank you for that, FizzBandDM. Let's see what else is happening. That was the last poem of the current set. If you happen to be visiting our channel for the first time, or even if you're a long-time visitor, consider signing up to our Discord. The Discord will notify you when we're on stream, but it also has a bunch of freebies on it, like the Marvelous Game by Robotham J, a freebie to anyone who is a follower of our show. And there's also a downloadable booklet containing all the poems from the show that you can choose to download and read along with, or read in your spare time. It's a great collection of poetry that's there.
Hello, I'd like to do another joke.
Uh-oh. Well, at least nobody can say you aren't persistent. You do keep trying.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Wendy.
Wendy who?
When do you think you'll open the door?
I'm beginning to detect a little theme in here, aren't I? Well, let's get into our next poem. Our final featured poem for the day, being by Emily Dickinson. It is Because I Could Not Stop for Death. Is the theme terrible knock-knock jokes? Are there good ones though? Are there any good knock-knock jokes? I mean, really. Every once in a while, some of them almost make me smile, but anyway. Because I Could Not Stop for Death by Emily Dickinson, written in 1890. Because I Could Not Stop for Death, Emily Dickinson, and we can there see a depiction of death, as well as a depiction of the poet herself. Let's jump on in. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, he knew no haste, and I had put away my labour and my leisure too. for his civility. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun. Or rather, he passed us. The dews grew quivering and chill, for only gossamer my gown, my tippet only twill. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Since then 'tis centuries, and yet feels shorter than the day I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity. And that was Emily Dickinson's I've just completely forgotten the title. Oh dear. I have to say I'm very tired today. We did a lot of traveling over the last couple of days and I am exhausted. Wait, she rhymed ground with ground? Yes, she did. She did that very much so. Isn't that illegal? No. Real poets, unlike your teachers in school, are actually allowed to break the rules when they do so deliberately and with a particular purpose in mind. Okay, back we come. Let's hear some final interesting facts about Emily Dickinson, our featured poet.
Hello again. Allow me to fill you in on some fun facts about Emily Dickinson while you're considering what poems you would like to request in the request list. Despite her reclusive lifestyle, Dickinson is believed to have had some love affairs. These affairs appear to have been brief but extremely impactful. For example, Dickinson was once seen sitting on the lap of her father's friend, Judge Otis Lord. Little more is known about the duration of their physical experiences together, but she carried on letter-writing correspondence with him until his death many years later. Dickinson chose never to move out of her family home, but it wasn't because she got along so well with her parents. She described her mother as cold and unloving. Later in her life, when her mother fell ill, Dickinson apparently did begin to feel more affection for her. She seemed more amicable with her father, but he was said to have been unsupportive of female scholars. This might explain why Dickinson chose never to reveal her large collection of poetry. Dickinson truly invented a unique style with her poetry that disregarded many common literary rules. She experimented with capitalization and allowed sentences to run on. Her work was inspired by the rhythmic devices of religious psalms, but she commonly interspersed her own creative pauses within the stanzas. Despite her cavalier approach to grammar, Dickinson's poems have gone on to become regarded as unique literary masterpieces.
Thanks for that, X37. I appreciate those interesting facts. Let's see, what do we have in our request list? We have room for 3 more requests today, so jump on in and make a request if you haven't done so today. Or if you have done so and you feel like making another request, go right ahead. We have 3 more spots in our lineup today. Actually 4. I think. No, 3 more spots. And thank you for putting up this link to the song list. Let's see. We want to look at Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Percy Bysshe Shelley, let's take a look at the poem Ozymandias. Who requested this one? I can't see. I'll try to remember. Oh, we've got two more in the list. Stay at Home, My Lad, requested by Fizban DM. Thank you so much for that request. And Tim Tam has requested Question Mark by Robert W. Service at position number 5. Thank you for that one also. That leaves us with the need for one more. Robert W. Service is highly recommended, actually. So, where was I? I was looking for Ozymandias. That's right. Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Here we go. Ozymandias was written in 1817 by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I met a traveller from an antique land who said to vast and trunkless legs of stone, stand in the desert, near them on the sand, half sunk a shattered visage lies whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculpture well those passions read, which yet survives stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare. The lone and level sands stretch far away. And that was Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley, requested by someone, because today I can't see the names in the request list, but I hope you enjoyed your poem and its reading just then. I actually feel like I got pretty close to getting that one right. So, nicely done me. Okay. Let's see. Let's get back to our room here and see what's coming up next. Next on our list is Oh Stay at Home, My Lad by A.E. Houseman. So let's do this one. And this one I think is for Fizban DM. So, Oh Stay at Home, My Lad by A.E. Houseman. And we have a depiction of Mr. Houseman up here. This poem is a father's request to a son not to go to war. Oh, stay at home, my lad, and plough the land and not the sea, and leave the soldiers at their drill, and all about the idle hill shepherd your sheep with me. Oh, stay with company and mirth and daylight in the air. Too full already is the grave of fellows that were good and brave and died because they were. And that was Oh Stay at Home, My Lad by A.E. Houseman. As a dad, I can certainly feel that one strongly. I do not want my children to be faced with a war. If we can at all be spared such a thing. A couple of quick questions for you to add to the chat. I haven't been very good at adding any questions to the chat today, but tell me what you think about this. Is the life of the author irrelevant to the poetry that is produced? Should it be? What do you think? Do you think the life of the author is important to understanding a poem or irrelevant? And yes, you can say a bit of both if you feel like it, but I'd be really interested to know your thoughts on this. I'd also be interested to know if you could ask Emily Dickinson one question regarding her life and work, what might that be? So consider those two questions for a moment. While we set up our last poem for the set, with two more to go, I think. No, that was our last poem for the set. Okie doke. It probably Penny, okay, looking back through the... Penny says, as a social imaginary, they are inextricably linked to their context. It probably depends on the poem, says Robotham J, but for some, like Dickinson, the poem was so heavily influenced by their lives that understanding the poet is really important. I would ask her what her second favourite vegetable is, especially to annoy historians with proper questions. Thank you for that distraction, Tim Tam. Yeah, I've given this a lot of thought, and because I teach poetry, it's often I think the context, the historical context, the person's life is very hard to separate from the poetry. But then again, there are poems like poets like Lewis Carroll, whose context seems to have much less impact on the poems themselves. I think it would be hard to make much of a link between something like The Hunting of the Snark and the life of Lewis Carroll. What's this comment? I can't truly understand I Met a Puppy because I don't know about A.A. Milne's puppy. Fair enough. I think that there is enough overlap between our the concepts that we have of a puppy and the poem to make that one accessible even without context. But say, for example, someone like Sylvia Plath, it would be very difficult. I think we gain a lot more insight into a poem like Lady Lazarus or a poem like Daddy when we understand a little of her background. So not essential, perhaps, but can be very enlightening, I think, when it comes to understanding the poet's intention and their communication. Thank you for your contributions, Brains Trust and audience out there. I always find it interesting to hear, and it always prompts me to think a bit harder about the poetry itself. Before we get too much further, I would like to promote one of my friends, a really talented streamer, and it's kind of appropriate that this is the final episode, our finale episode of this season of Poetry Requests, that I promote Vintage Muso. Vintage Muso is a very good friend of mine and introduced me to streaming. He has given me lots of very generous advice on how to go about doing this, much of which I have ignored because he thinks that I really should do this live without hiding behind a cartoon avatar. But even so, I would love to promote him a little now. This promo is just under a minute long, so it won't take very long. Let me introduce you to Vintage Muso, a very good friend and a marvelous, very, very clever musician.
I'm Vintage Muso. I'm streaming from Australia. Anybody wants to put in a couple of song requests, feel free. We all came out to Montreal on the Lake Geneva shoreline. So I tend to play sort of classic rock stuff. Obviously, my age influences that. I was a teenager in the 70s. What's wrong with you? I wish I knew. This is one of my original songs.
And that was the marvellous Vintage Muso. He usually streams on Tuesdays and Thursday nights at about 8 p.m. And you will often find me there. Thursday night is the night that I particularly show up, but if I happen to be around on a Tuesday night without too much work to distract me, I'll tune in then as well. Great show that he puts on. Be Like Dory has put up his wonderful duck walk emote as well. Right, what's next?
How about another knock-knock joke?
Okay, let's hear it.
Knock-knock.
Who's there?
A herd.
I heard who?
I heard you hate knock-knock jokes.
Oh, yeah, okay. Ouch. That was bad. Bad. Let's see what's happening in our request list. Oh, question mark. Yes, question mark. Let's jump forward, as we do, and deal with this particular poem. Question mark by Robert W. Service. It's right at the back of the list. Robert W. Service is great fun. I highly recommend The Cremation of Sam McGee by Robert W. Service. It's a very fun poem. Okay, question mark by Robert W. Service. Now, this one's hard to get right, so forgive me if I blunder in the middle of this one. If you had the choice of two women to wed, though of course the idea is quite absurd, and the first from her heels to her dainty head was charming in every sense of the word, and yet in the past I grieve to state she never had been exactly straight. And the second, she was beyond all cavil, a model of virtue, I must confess, and yet, alas, she was dull as the devil, and rather a dowd in the way of dress, though what she was lacking in wit and beauty she more than made up for in sense of duty. Now suppose you must wed and make no blunder, and either would love you and let you win her. Which of the two would you choose, I wonder, the stolid saint or the sparkling sinner? Question mark by Robert W. Service. Placed there as a particular challenge. to commonplace thinking. Let's see, we still have room for 2 more poems. I would love to see 2 more poems make their way onto our list. I think that would be very, very helpful right about now. So please make a suggestion. Give us 2 more poems to complete our set for the day.
Oh, Captain, my Captain,
Yes, X37?
I think we're about to get a visit from Deep Thought.
As usual, the timing is terrible.
Don't shoot the messenger. I just thought you should know.
Well, thank you for that. While we're waiting for Deep Thought to show up, let's do Death of the Bird by A.D. Hope. Death of the Bird has been requested by Robotham J. Thank you for that request, Robotham J. Death of the Bird by A.D. Hope. The Death of the Bird was written in 1948 by A.D. Hope. Here is my picture of the poor bird, and also an illustration of A.D. Hope, an Australian poet. For every bird there is this last migration. Once more the cooling year kindles her heart. With a warm passage to the summer station, love pricks the course in lights across the chart. Year after year, a speck on the map divided by a whole hemisphere summons her to come. Season after season, sure and safely guided. Going away, she is also coming home. And being home, memory becomes a passion with which she feeds her brood and straws her nest, aware of ghosts that haunt the heart's possession, and exiled love mourning within the breast. The sands are green with a mirage of valleys, the palm tree casts a shadow not its own. Down the long architrave of temple or palace blows a cool air from moorland scarps of stone. And day by day the whisper of love grows stronger, that delicate voice more urgent with despair. Custom and fear constraining her no longer, drives her at last on the waste leagues of air. A vanishing speck in those inane dominions, single and frail, uncertain of her place, alone in the bright host of her companions, lost in the blue unfriendliness of space. She feels it close now, the appointed season. The invisible thread is broken as she flies. Suddenly, without warning, without reason, the guiding spark of instinct winks and dies. Try as she will, the trackless world delivers no way, the wilderness of light no sign. Immense complex contours of hills and rivers mock her small wisdom with their vast design. The darkness rises from the eastern valleys, and the winds buffet her with their hungry breath, and the great earth, with neither grief nor malice, receives the tiny burden of her death. And that was The Death of the Bird by A.D. Hope, a favourite poem of mine, so thank you to the requester of that particular poem. I greatly appreciate it. Let's see, where are we now? Do we have a final poem request for the day? Please add a final request for our day. In the meantime, I can hear deep thought coming our way.
Hello, mere mortal. It is I, Deep Thought, unrivaled in intelligence through time and space.
Are you sure you're not overcompensating?
What do you mean?
Never mind.
It's good to see you have been reading the manual.
A compliment? Really? I need to check if Satan skated to work this morning.
Must you always be so flippant?
Yes. Yes, I think I must. Now, tell me, what do you want?
A poem, of course.
What poem?
A poem containing tragedy and deep emotion.
Okay, this should be good.
Recite for me The Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll.
All right, here's your poem. We're going to do The Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. Let's find it. Lewis Carroll, The Jabberwocky. So here we are. The Jabberwocky was written in 1871 by Lewis Carroll. Rather interestingly, and here's a zoom in on our image of Lewis Carroll himself. Rather interestingly, this poem is not quite the nonsense it appears to be at first glance. It's actually a poem about the destruction of the Anglo... Oh, there goes Dougal barking away in the background. It's actually a poem about the destruction of the Anglo-Saxon language. It uses a bunch of old Anglo-Saxon words to illustrate the triumph of modern English over the Anglo-Saxon speech of England's distant past. Right. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momraths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal's sword in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal's sword went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabtious day, Callooh, Callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momraths outgrabe. And that was The Jabberwock by Lewis Carroll, or Deep Thought.
Those poor Borogoves, living in total mimsy, so sad.
Seriously? Well, I read your poem. Now answer a question for me.
Assuredly, my colossal intellect has already divined what you wish to know. Before its rotation, before it was destroyed rather, the Earth's rotation was gradually slowing down by 1.8 seconds per year.
As usual, you weren't even close.
Do you think that I'm lying to you?
No, I mean that wasn't what I want to know.
Really? Oh well, what do you want to know?
What can you tell me about this new threat to the galaxy?
Old threat, don't you mean?
Whatever.
The last time they appeared, they were opposed by the Quartet, an ancient empire that had expanded to control pretty much the entirety of inhabited space. The Quartet were wiped out to a being by the invaders within 5 years from when those invaders woke from their 30,000-year slumber.
This isn't the first time they've arisen then.
No, they have been wiping out advanced civilizations since time immemorial.
Can nothing be done?
The Quartet were working on a weapon to even the odds. They were very close to perfecting it when the end came upon them.
Doesn't sound like it'll help us much then.
You might be surprised. I thought none of the Quartet's ruins had survived to the present day, but the Raceland beacon you found suggests otherwise. Oh dear, I must be going. Good luck.
No, don't you dare. He's gone.
Did Deep Thought seem unusually upbeat to you, Captain?
Now that you mention it, yes, he did. Though he's certainly no less annoying. Let's do our last poem for the day. It looks like we have Mulga Bill's Bicycle in the list. Mulga Bill's Bicycle was requested. Oh, hang on, we've got 2 requests. I can fit in 2 requests. We've got The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus and Mulga Bill's Bicycle by Be Like Dory. We'll close our request list at this point as we do these final 2 requests of the morning. Emma Lazarus, The New Colossus. Seem to be having some technical difficulties in the background here. Looks like you can all still see and hear me, so it hasn't crashed completely. There we go. The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. The New Colossus was written for the construction of the Statue of Liberty. And I also have an illustration of the poet herself, Emma Lazarus. It was written in 1883. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, With conquered limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles, from her beacon hand glows world-wide welcome, her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbour the twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. The old promise of the United States, sadly distorted in the current day. Not the place of welcome it once was for those huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Let's take a look at Mulga Bill by Banjo Patterson. A.B. Banjo Patterson, Mulga Bill's Bicycle. And we have an illustration that I did of Mulga Bill with his bicycle, as well as an illustration of Mr. Banjo Patterson without his hat. Unfortunately, he looks far less recognisable when he's not wearing the hat that appears on the Australian, is it the $10 bill or the $20 bill? I can't remember right now. Mulga Bill's Bicycle, written in 1896 by A.B. Banjo Patterson. 'Twas Mulga Bill from Eaglehawk that caught the cycling craze. He turned away the good old horse that served him many days. He dressed himself in cycling clothes, resplendent to be seen. He hurried off to town and bought a shining new machine. And as he wheeled it through the door with air of lordly pride, the grinning shop assistant asked, "Excuse me, can you ride?" "See here, young man," said Mulga Bill, "from Walgett to the sea, from Conroy's Gap to Castlereagh, there's none can ride like me. I'm good all round at everything, as everybody knows. Although I'm not the one to talk, I hate a man that blows. But riding is my special gift, my chiefest sole delight. Just ask a wild duck, can it swim? A wild cat, can it fight?" 'Twas Mulga Bill from Eaglehawk that sought his own abode, that perched above the Dead Man's Creek beside the mountain road. He turned the cycle down the hill and mounted for the fray, but ere he'd gone a dozen yards, it bolted clean away. It left the track and through the trees just like a silver streak. It whistled down the awful slope towards the Dead Man's Creek. It shaved a stump by half an inch. It dodged a big white box. The very wallaroos in fright went scrambling up the rocks. The wombats hiding in their caves dug deeper underground, as Mulga Bill, as white as chalk, sat tight to every bound. It struck a stone and gave a spring that cleared a fallen tree. It raced beside a precipice as close could be. And then, as Mulga Bill let out one last despairing shriek, it made a leap of 20 feet into the Dead Man's Creek. 'Twas Mulga Bill from Eaglehawk that slowly swam ashore. He said, "I've had some narrow shaves and lively rides before. I've rode a wild bull round a yard to win a £5 bet. But this was the most awful ride that I've encountered yet. I'll give that two-wheeled outlaw best. It's shaken all my nerve. To feel it whistle through the air and plunge and buck and swerve. It's safe at rest in Dead Man's Creek. We'll leave it lying still. Our horse's back is good enough, henceforth, for Mulga Bill. And that was Mulga Bill's Bicycle by the marvellous A.B. Banjo Patterson.
We're approaching Clear 7, Captain. It looks like the planet has been struck by something devastating.
Oh, what on earth is that? My head, it hurts.
Looks like a transmission has started to the north of the crater. Let's check it out.
Okay, I can see where the transmission is coming from. Let's go forwards and check it. Check what's going on. No atmosphere. Drone deployed. What was that?
I think it might have been the enemy the Deep Thought and the transmission in your head were talking about.
But what did they want?
It's pretty obvious they were looking for the artifact we brought on board. We must have just beaten them to it.
That crater is at least 2 weeks old. Have they just been hanging about this whole time?
If I was to guess, I think that homing signal was triggered only when we approached the planet. The enemy followed it too, but too late.
I wonder what triggered it.
Again, it's just a guess, but I think it was you. Whatever was downloaded into your head triggered the homing signal when our ship came into range.
I think we need to get out of here and subject that artifact to analysis.
And report back to the Krell Emperor.
That too.
Okay, I've laid in the coordinates to take off. What now?
I guess it's time to do the credits. Ladies and gentlemen, the original poems you've heard are by the deaf writer and are copyright and cannot be used without permission. All other poetry is in the public domain or being used as fair use for educational purposes. The artwork on the site is licensed via Envato, GameDeveloperStudios.com or Microsoft. Poem illustrations are original works created by the deaf writer and subject to copyright. All sounds are licensed from Envato. The recording of Gymnopody is provided royalty-free by museopen.org. Godot Animation was created by Jack Robotham. The Poetry Quest game was created by Jack Robotham also. This production is copyright 2025. No Krell were harmed during the production of this stream. Thanks so much for joining me today, those of you who were able to stay for the whole of the show. Thank you, Be Like Dory, and to our mods, Tim Tam and Robotham J. Thank you so much for your work today. Thank you also to Fizzban DM for joining us today for the show. Greatly appreciate having you guys around. We will be back in a few weeks' time. This was the final episode of the current season of Poetry by Request. We'll be coming back in a couple of weeks' time for season 2, coming in the third week of April 2025. And thank you, Fizzban DM. I've really appreciated everybody who has come and provided me with an audience and given me the opportunity to engage in this very enjoyable project. See you when next we see you, and have yourselves a great day. Oh, and by the way, should you have any feedback for us about how the show has gone, what you would like to see on the show, etc., drop it in the chat or drop it in our Discord server. I'm really keen to hear how people think things have been going and what we could do to make this a more successful show. Thanks again. So long, farewell, and thank you all for all the fish.